A Victim Bites Back Show 17. I set off in my Rolls Royce to drive 10,000 kilometres all the way from London to Marrakesh in Morocco and back. I've just seen the best film ever made, which is quite a relief because the last few films I've seen, which are hugely acclaimed by critics, got lots of awards and all the rest of it, I've really not liked at all. The last film I saw that I really loved was The Banshees of Inisherin, which I think was the best film of the last year or so. But I've just been to see a film which is in French with subtitles called Close, C-L-O-S-E, and I really think it may be the best film ever made. It's got all the normal ingredients, some absolutely brilliant acting from the young kid who plays the lead and all the people in it. It's well directed, well written, it's well scripted and everything else. Camera work is great, the music is fantastic. On every level it's great, but that's not why. The reason why is because my aggravating thing that's been going on for years now, and I've gone on about it here forever, is the superficialization of humanity. The way humanity tends to see things only in black and white. And I think there's a reason for that, because we're all so bored with everyday humdrum kind of stuff. We need things to be more exciting. And that's really happened, especially with the media, because the media is well aware, newspapers, television, radio, is well aware that the only thing that will interest you and me is actually something that's rather brighter coloured. So if there's a murder, it's the worst murder ever. If there's a road accident, it's the worst accident ever. It's all described more, and this goes to the courts as well. And that's why I'm quite sure a lot of people who probably should be in prison, convicted for doing something they shouldn't have done, are actually spending years and years in prison because the claims against them or whatever, the crimes they committed have been so exaggerated, and the media exaggerates it even more when it reports it, and judges and juries have to have it presented to them and seen as an extreme thing. And this madness, this sort of incredible madness, has really taken hold. And the great thing about this film, Close, is it looks at ordinary life and basic simple things which can be absolutely tragic for the people involved, but are not actually headline news on the tabloids or anything else. And it really is an absolutely superb film carrying that message across. I really recommend it. Close, C-L-O-S-E. Do anything you can to see it. So many of the acclaimed movies for the Oscars coming up this weekend, I really didn't like. All's Quiet on the Western Front, just another war is hell movie. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. A dreadful movie, just showing how you can make a movie with almost no budget like this, but actually really no plot, no characterization, basically rubbish. After Sun, again terrible, with a decent performance by the lead actor, but nothing worth watching. Pinocchio, no good at all, nowhere near as good as the original Disney movie, mainly because there weren't any decent songs in it, but just also really badly done, nowhere near as good as other animated films like Sing 2. I only loved The Banshees of Inisherin, which I think is fabulous and deserves all sorts of awards, and as I might have mentioned, Close, which is terrific. Quite a few people ask me about my naughty days, when musically I tended to mock existing idols. One of my dear friends back in the 60s was George Harrison, a member of a group called the Beatles, and actually the one who I think made the most interesting solo tracks. Even some of the ones when the Beatles were together that George wrote, like Here Comes the Sun, were actually some of the best they made. Anyway, he went solo, and after he went solo, he made several tracks, all of which I loved, but one of which I thought borrowed an awful lot from an old favourite song of mine called He's So Fine by the Chiffons. And as a sort of a bit of a joke, I recorded my own version of He's So Fine, but with the George Harrison My Sweet Lord arrangement around it, just to illustrate how similar the songs were. Now, sadly, it all became a plagiarism trial, and he was taken to court and accused of stealing from the song, which I'm sure he didn't do. I'm sure it was an unintentional thing. But anyway, they played my version of He's So Fine in court, and the judge was completely swayed by this and found against George Harrison, which cost him millions of pounds. Sadly, George never spoke to me again and went on, even more sadly, to die.
Wish you were mine, handsome boy over there, the one with the wavy hair. I don't know how I'm gonna do it.
What is my life?
But I'm gonna make him mine.
Here comes the sun.
Be the envy of all the girls. It's just a matter of time.
My sweet Lord.
He's a soft-spoken guy.
What is my life?
He often seems kinda shy. Makes me wonder if I should even give him a try. But then again, he can't shy. He can't shy away forever. And I'm gonna make him mine. If it takes me forever and ever and ever. He's so fine,
Georgie,
he's gotta be mine. I just can't wait to be held in his arms.
See you in court.
If I were a queen and he asked me to leave my throne, I'd do anything that he asked, anything to make him my own. For he's so fine, so fine, so fine, so fine. He's so fine, so fine, so fine, so fine. He don't love you like I love you. So fine, so fine, so fine, so fine. He's so fine.
I did it again. I remember listening to It's a Sin by the Pet Shop Boys, which again I thought was a terrific record, but I noticed a great similarity to a song by a dear friend of mine in the 60s, Cat Stevens, called Wild World. Yeah, baby, it's a wild world. And again, I recorded my version of Wild World with the arrangement that the Pet Shop Boys had done for It's a Sin and put it out. And it got the most enormous amount of publicity, including at one point the Pet Shop Boys suing me. They were so furious. And again, I never said they stole it. I don't think they did steal it. It just happens to be that it's there in their minds, the original song, and comes out. The older you get, the more you tend to be influenced by existing records. And I think that's what happened. But anyway, it all got settled out of court, mainly because we were all on Concord together, me and the two Pet Shop Boys who I hadn't really properly spent time with before. And we sat together and they were heading off to the Caribbean for a holiday. And I said, oh my God, if you go there, you've got to go to it. I gave them all sorts of names of gay clubs and places that they really enjoy visiting. And after that, they called their lawyers and said, oh, for God's sake, settle this, because it was all about my column in The Sun that I'd written about it, as well as the version I'd done. And the whole thing got dropped with, I think, a small amount paid to a charity by The Sun. of The Sun. For 10 years, I was the #1 rated columnist in the Sun newspaper. I had a page every week. We called it Bizarre USA, and it was often when I was in America, or I came back a lot. Every month I returned from America back to London, and London back to New York. It was always on Concorde, and I did that flight once a month, or each way twice a month, for about 10 years. Anyway, the column was great. I really enjoyed doing it. It was thoroughly, I was thoroughly well paid. The Sun is a marvellous organisation to work for. It's actually a much better newspaper to work for than a lot of the other Murdoch-owned papers like the Times and so on. The Sun sub-editors in particular, and people working there, were terrific. Literally, if they wanted to change a comma in my article, they'd phone me up and get permission before doing so. And nearly always they really improved the column by making changes that were important to be made. So I had a quite great time there for about 10 years, and I eventually stopped because the editor, Kelvin Mackenzie, decided that another new boy he was bringing up needed to do 6 days a week in the Sun, and that was Piers Morgan. And so he gave him 6 days a week and said to me, sadly, bye-bye. But I thoroughly enjoyed the Sun. I was there when we did the move from Fleet Street out to Wapping, and all the drama that took place, breaching, the unions and the battle. I'm a big fan of Murdoch. Quite honestly, personally, I met him on Concorde once, and we spent the whole flight together chatting. He's the most intelligent, charming, attractive man. Great fun to be with, not at all like the image you get. But I also think he did wonders for the British world of journalism and newspaper publications and so on. So actually I'm a big fan of his, quite apart from liking him personally. I don't agree with a lot of the things that his newspapers do. And the other day the Sun charmingly did a piece on me and on this A Victim Bites Back, in which they were quite negative about me, but the result was hundreds more people tuned in to A Victim Bites Back. Somebody once said, no publicity is bad publicity.